I want to tell you about the first time I ever went to the Kotel in Jerusalem. It's one of the holiest places in our Jewish tradition, if not the holiest place in our Jewish tradition. And there are Jews who come from all over the world just to be in that place, to be in that site. And not just Jews, by the way. There are pilgrims, Christian pilgrims and others who like to come and touch the wall and be there and visit. It's a place where we feel deeply connected to our history. And the story I'm going to tell you is a true story from a time when I was about the age of all of our second graders sitting right here. Raise your hand if you're about 8 years old. Yeah, this is when this story is from. My family had gone to Israel to celebrate my brother and sister becoming bar and bat mitzvah. And our grandparents were there with us. Our aunts and uncles, our cousins, mom and dad, dear family and friends, all together, about 30 of us who had traveled to Israel for this special moment. And it was supposed to be a celebration, and it was a celebration. But something happened on the day of my brother and sister's bar and bat mitzvah that confused me. There I was, standing with my brother, our father, our grandfather, and all the men of our family. And my brother put on a talit, and he put on his tefillin for the very first time, and then he chanted a few verses of Torah. There's a photo from 1978 of my brother's bar mitzvah, and everybody yelled, that's me down in the corner with the little yarmulke, the paper yarmulke. They could have gotten me a real yarmulke, you know. And everybody yelled out, Mazel Tov. Everyone was so happy. But here was the confusing thing. Where was my sister? It was supposed to be her bat mitzvah too. She was a year older than my brother. She still is. And my parents had decided, because they're so close in age, that we could celebrate together. One trip to Israel, the whole family. And it was a big deal back then. Even today, it was a big deal to make such a journey. And I wondered where my sister was at the celebration of what I thought was going to be their B'nai Mitzvah. And then off in the corner, I saw my sister standing behind a barrier along with all the women in our family, our mother, our aunt, grandmother. And from behind that barrier, they had to stand up on chairs, balancing themselves precariously, just to catch a glimpse of what was happening in the men's section. There was no talit for my sister, no tefillin, no opportunity to chant from the Torah, even though we all knew that she had studied harder and taken it more seriously than my brother. If you're watching, Adam, you know I'm telling the truth. This is true. And she didn't really get to celebrate in that same way. Now, back in Omaha, when we came for the celebration back at home, she did. But there she didn't. And I remember even as a kid of just 8 years old thinking, that doesn't really feel right to me. And so I have the photos you just saw of my brother on that special day, but we don't have one. I went through them all today. We don't have one single picture of my sister at the wall. And what would the picture even have shown? Her standing behind the barrier of the mechitza, watching from a distance? The good news is I do have a beautiful photo of her at Shuk Machane Yehuda. Not that one. Not that one. There it is. That's my sister at Shuk Machane Yehuda a little bit later that same trip. But the really good news is that over time, the reality that we experienced in 1978 at the Kotel has changed. For the better, in my opinion. Many people worked very hard over many, many years with grit and determination and patience to make it possible for young women like my sister to read from the Torah at the Western Wall today. And so in addition, these days, to a men's section and a women's section, there's a third section that was created after this bar and bat mitzvah celebration called Ezrat Yisrael, where men and women can stand together and pray side by side. And in just a few moments, you'll see some photos of that, including some photos of B'nai Mitzvah from this congregation who came and celebrated with their clergy in Jerusalem at Ezrat Yisrael. Is this arrangement perfect? The men's section, the women's section, and then the mixed section? No, it's not perfect, but it is much better, in my opinion, than what we used to have. The egalitarian section where men and women can pray together Well, just like we are this evening, it's a bit farther away from the other sections, and it's not so easy to find. It's a little bit off the beaten path, as it were, but it's something. And it teaches us something very important. When Jews care about each other, about unity, and about the needs and dreams of one another, we can find creative solutions, and we can share space. And so now I want to ask you to think about something a little bit more recent. I just shared a story from 1978. I know there are parents of second graders who were not born in 1978. Perish the thought, but that is true. But now I'm going to tell you something much more recent. After October 7th, 2023, we all experienced as a community something very powerful happen. Jews who don't always agree with each other were standing with one another. Jews who vote differently, Jews who pray differently, Jews from Israel, Jews from America and around the world, Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Mizrahi, Jews by choice, and even those who love Jews, who aren't themselves Jewish, but they love our community. We were all standing together. And you remember how that felt. I know how that felt to me. Very powerful. We stood together. We prayed together. We marched together. We advocated together for the hostages. And we prayed for them every single week until they were returned. In a moment of pain and fear, we remembered something very important. We are one people. As our tradition says, Am Echad im Lev Echad. One people with one heart. And in the Psalms, there's a beautiful verse that many of us know by heart. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is when achim, brothers and sisters, siblings, dwell together. And it doesn't say in that verse how good it is when siblings agree about everything. That's never going to happen. It doesn't say how good it is when siblings look exactly alike. That's not true, except for identical twins sometimes. It doesn't say it's good when siblings pray the same way. That's not how we do it. It says it's good when siblings find ways to dwell together, to be together, to share space with one another. Unity doesn't mean we are all the same. Unity doesn't mean we all think the same or believe the same. It means we care about each other. It means we make room for one another. It means that we treat each other with kavod, with respect. We showed the world after October 7th that we can stand together across differences. So let's not allow ourselves to be divided now. If we could unite to support the hostages, if we could unite in grief and in hope, then surely we can unite to share sacred space. Ezrat Yisrael, that section of the Kotel that's for men and women who want to pray together, is proof that when we use creativity, love, and mutual respect, we can make room for one another. Because at the end of the day, we are brothers and sisters, and families don't push each other away. Families make room. Shabbat Shalom.